So welcome back. We're going to continue on with some two-step equation thinking. Again, our directions say write an equation that can be used to find the solution to the problem. Okay? So let's look at the problem that they threw at us this time. So the sum of three consecutive even numbers is 48. What is the smallest of these numbers? Okay? So I've read through it. I do know that we're trying to find the smallest of these numbers. So that's the first thing I can kind of pick up on. What are we trying to find? The smallest, and again, we're actually looking for even numbers here. What? Even. Because up here, notice it said the sum of three consecutive even numbers. I'm looking for the smallest of those even numbers. So there's some vocabulary we have to pick up on. So what we're looking for is the smallest even number, which, again, since we're looking for that, I'm going to label that x, so I don't have to keep on writing all that out every time. So x is going to represent these words, this expression, the smallest even number. So some things we've got to pick up on is, first off, the word sum. The sum of three consecutive even numbers. Don't forget the word sum kind of implies addition. So I may want to make a note that that kind of implies add. Three, I understand three consecutive, that may be a new word for us. Consecutive kind of means one after the other. So if I'm talking about consecutive numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, those would be consecutive numbers. But this said something special. It said consecutive even numbers. So when I talk about even numbers, we're talking about like 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, so forth and so on. Those are what we call even numbers. So those numbers that end with a 0, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 6, or an 8, those are defined as even numbers. Odd numbers are those that end with like 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Those are considered odd numbers. But we're looking for even numbers. It's also special that when I add these numbers up, they have to equal 48. It is going to be 48 when I do that. So picking up on what I'm seeing here, I can use a little bit of trial and error as a strategy on this problem. So I'm going to try to put this useful information together. So my useful information is the word sum. That sum kind of means to add. So I have to add three consecutive even numbers. So like 2, 4, 6. Those would be consecutive even numbers. But the catch is, when I add those together, that has to equal 48. And we can kind of see that 2 plus 4 is 6, 6 plus 6 is 12. That does not equal 48. Okay? So my trial and error thinking, I can't just pick 2, 4, 6. I'm going to have to pick something a little bit bigger than that. So let's say a little bit bigger. I've got to add it to 48. It's got to be three numbers. I know that, 3 tens is like 30. So I'm in the ballpark there. Let's try something around 10. So let's try 10, 12, and 14. Those are three consecutive even numbers, but do they equal 48? So when I add those together, 10 plus 12 plus 14, that's 22, that's 36. That's too low. So maybe we'll have to bump this up. Let's try, let's skip that, drop the 10 and just go, let's go with 14 maybe. 14 plus, let's go 14, maybe 16, maybe 18. Let's see what happens with that. Let's bump it up a little bit. 14 plus 16 plus 18. Well, 14 plus 16 is 30. 30 plus 18, I'm seeing that 48 there. So my trial and error is kind of leading me to, hey, 14, 16, and 18 are actually my answers. And since I'm looking for the smallest even number, my answer's actually got to be 14. There's my trial and error. Okay? But what they want us to do, though, is they want us to actually write an equation that represents our thinking. So this is where we come in with our thinking. Well, we know that x is the smallest number. So I'm going to put x there, and I'm adding to that three more numbers. But if we notice that each time you go up an even number, you're increasing by 2. To get from 10 to a 12, we're adding 2. To get to a 12 to a 14, we're adding 2. So notice how 14 to 16 is adding 2. 16 to 18 is adding 2. So I'm picking up on a pattern here. So if x is the first number, x plus 2 would represent the second number, and x plus 4 would actually have to represent the third number, because I have to add 2 again, and 2 and 2 makes that 4. So if this is the smallest number, the next number's got to be 2 more than that. The next number's actually got to be 4 more than that. So this is going to represent our 3 even numbers that are consecutive, because again it says consecutive, which means they are increasing by 2. And we also know that it has to equal this 48. So I have to equal that 48. So there's my equation that I can use to find our answer. We know that I can actually combine like terms here. X plus x plus x. Remember, that's repeated addition. I can use that multiplication. So x plus x plus x is the same thing as 3x's. And I can add that 2 and 4 together and get 6. So there's where that combining like terms comes in handy that we did earlier. So x plus x plus x is the same thing as 3x's, and 2 and 4 gives me a 6. And that now equals this 48. Now it's starting to come together. That looks like something that we've been doing. But notice how we have to kind of put that together on our own. So now we have to zero out the 6 by using a negative 6. So it gives me 3x is going to equal, looks like a 42. And then since this is multiplication, I can divide by 3. And 42 divided by 3, that's actually 14. And I can verify with the calculator if I need to. So 14 is the smallest number. I found what I was looking for. And if they asked us to find all the numbers, then we would say 14, 16, and 18 would be all 3 numbers. But the directions just said, what is the smallest of these numbers? So we're just looking for that 14. So 14 would be my solution. So that's how it kind of works. So you have to kind of identify what you're looking for. We have to identify some useful information. We've got to come up with some strategies. Sometimes the equation jumps out at me. This equation really doesn't jump out at me. I have to kind of play with it. And a good strategy is this kind of trial and error or try and error. Just kind of play with it. And notice that you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to get your hands dirty. But if you kind of do some thinking before you start laying numbers down, you can get there quite easily without too many steps. Okay? And that thinking here is what led me to my equation. The equation doesn't necessarily come first. It may actually come last sometimes. But that's where we're going with all this. Okay? Stay tuned.